Thank you for joining us at our annual holiday workshop. And with our adult holiday workshop, what you're going to see today is ideas on how to get through the holidays. I'd like to start with a few introductions. My name is Debbie Vallandingham, and I'm Director of Grief Care Services here at Angela Hospice. And today, I'm going to be joined by the whole Grief Care group, and we're each going to be taking a section and going through a few tips and ideas that will work for hopefully most of you. Today, I'm going to be joined by Keely, Becca, and Jay. So let me show you the agenda, and we will get started. First up, we'll be talking about self-care. Then we're going to go into 12 holiday tips. Then we're going to talk about the kids in our lives and how grief affects them during the holidays. And then we're going to have some questions and answers. But basically, we're going to hold that until after the workshops. The first workshop will be actually physically making a plan. So hopefully you have the material that was provided for you today. If not, I do have a slide of what that workshop creating a plan looks like. And we're actually going to work through it, and you're going to create a plan that works for you in that particular workshop. And then our last workshop for today is a meditation that's done with an Altoid box. And that should be provided in your materials that you received as well today. So with that, we're going to get started, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Keely, and I'm part of the Grief Care team here. And I just want to first and foremost welcome you here. And I am so honored to share this time and space with you. And today during the workshop, I am going to be covering self-care during the holiday season. So during this section of our workshop, we're going to be talking about self-care, and we're going to be covering the 4 different domains. There are numerous other domains that we could get into, but we really want to focus on these 4. These are the 4 primary ones that we really like to talk about and focus on. So the first one we're going to talk about is the physical, which is our body, to live, move, and breathe, and exist, feel our feet on this earth. The second domain we're going to focus on is emotional, our heart, to love, care, and be in relationship with both yourself and others. Next, we're going to talk about psychological, our minds, and that incorporates our ability to learn, think, and grow. And then the 4th domain we're going to be covering is the spiritual, our spirit, to connect with essence, purpose, and meaning. And that can mean a variety of things for different people: spirit, soul, and for some, faith as well. So the first one we're covering is self-care, so the physical body. And this can be very difficult, especially during the holidays. And we want to make sure that we're ensuring an overall healthy lifestyle. And I know that can be difficult even throughout the year, but especially around the holidays, when things can feel especially heavy. And we want to try and keep in mind that our body is where a lot of this begins. And going through grief and experiencing this, we want to make sure that we're providing our physical body with the nutrients, water, and sleep that it needs to be able to face the days and approach life. So we want to focus on eating healthy. Again, that can include whatever feels good to you. Again, especially around the holidays, there are extra cookies and candy around, and that's okay too. Whatever fills your soul, but making sure that we're also taking in food and substances that are replenishing to our bodies. Especially now with it getting darker light later, earlier and everything, we want to make sure that we're getting vitamin D and things like that. It's drier out and colder, so we want to make sure we're drinking a lot of water and making sure that our bodies are hydrated. When we are not getting enough water, things kind of get slow and sluggish. And again, with it getting dark out, we want to be able to provide our body with an opportunity to be running it at its best capacity. Exercise, getting our muscles moving, stretching, and doing that in a way that feels good to you in any way that you're able to do. If that means walking up your stairs, if that feels comfortable, taking a walk with a dog, or even around your backyard or anywhere where you live, just being able to get up and move around can really help get fluids moving, can get some hormones moving. So it's a wonderful way to just get out and start moving. Decluttering your home and office. We want to make sure that the physical space that we're taking up, not only our bodies, but where we are living and breathing, we want to make sure that it is representative of having a clear space. So sometimes it can feel really nice to even just rearrange furniture or organize, and allowing your physical body space to feel comfortable. And tying back into, enjoying ourselves, enjoy moments to rest and replenish, taking moments to allow ourselves to do what feels right. And that can change day to day, and finding time to do things that fill us up. If that might be taking a foot soak, looking at birds, just something that, even just taking a moment sometimes to feel your feet or your legs on a chair, and just allowing yourself to feel in your body, if that feels good to you. The next domain we're going to talk about is emotional, or heart. And something that we do talk about in group quite a bit is allowing yourself to feel all of your emotions, especially during this time. A lot of emotions you may find yourself navigating, and allowing your heart to experience those emotions. Setting clear boundaries on your time and energy. Again, it's getting dark out sooner. You may be experiencing waves of emotions. So, another thing we talk about in group very often is being true to yourself and what feels good to you. And you want to make sure that we're trying to engage in emotional boundaries within helping relationships. A lot of times around the holidays, we may have friends or family suggest or offer ways they want to show up. And it's okay to say no if it doesn't feel good to you. And it's okay to choose for yourself what feels good. Surrounding yourself with positive people who are able to validate and meet you where you are in your grief process and in your process and how you're approaching the holidays, and who are able to provide you with affirmative, inspiring messages. Again, you deserve to feel validated in whatever's coming up for you. Another thing we really like to focus on is addressing any issues or problems so they don't build up. We like to make sure that we discuss moving, just same as we do physically. Emotionally, we want to make sure we're allowing space to, so to speak, open the window and let some fresh air in. Again, both physically and emotionally. Our heart is a beautiful, amazing thing, and we want to make sure that we're allowing it some fresh air. Give and receive love, kindness, and support. Sometimes, as I'm sure you all know, there's moments where we are able to do something, a moment of kindness for someone else can really provide just an opportunity to be in the present moment and to give back and to put, again, movement into your love and mobilize that love into doing something kind for someone else, especially around the holidays when, there are so many of us and those in need. And it's really important to spend time with people you care about and who care about you. And again, there can be a lot of shoulds around the holidays. There can be a lot of expectations about previous rituals or traditions. And again, we just want to make sure that you are listening to yourself, your heart, and what feels good to you. It's important that you, again, feel validated and you are able to surround yourself with people who can meet you where you are, especially during this time. The next domain we're going to cover is psychological, our minds. So this can cover a whole realm of possibilities, but activities might include personal and professional development. So things that your mind find interesting, things that you may have had some curiosity about. Now is the time, if you're able to, even if you schedule a couple minutes a day to research something that you previously have thought to be interesting, just to allow your mind to get some traction and to work a little bit. That can really help, just like it does with our bodies. Our minds need that movement too. And so that might be a way for you to allow your mind to move a little bit. Give attention to things that are within your control. So many things are out of our control, and we want to make sure that we're focusing on the small things that we can say yes to or say no to. And again, that may change day to day, and that's okay. But making sure that we can focus in, feel our feet on the floor, and say, I want to say yes to this, or I want to say no to this. Taking time for personal reflection. Notice your inner experiences, thoughts, and feelings. Something we'll talk about too is, take an opportunity to reflect, and maybe to write down or journal on things that you're experiencing inside, both in your heart and your mind. And it's important to allow your mind and heart to feel seen. And so that might be a really nice way for those parts of you to feel seen and heard and acknowledged. Another point we like to point out is cultivate self-awareness through things such as journaling, getting feedback from others, meditation, and coaching or counseling. So the first one, journaling, like we talked about, it can be a really nice way for our minds or our hearts or even our bodies to feel seen, acknowledged, and heard. List journaling is something that I often suggest. If you don't feel like writing out very long soliloquies or anything like that, you can just make lists too, just to, again, time back in that physical movement, the physicality of just moving, even if it's typing or writing with a pen on paper, moving that can be very healing. Getting feedback from others. Again, surrounding yourself with people who love you, know you, support you, and validate your experience. It's important to, come together, and grief can be extremely isolating, especially around the holidays. So if there's people that you trust, make sure that you can check in with them. Meditation, some people find to be very helpful during the holidays, and just again to kind of center yourself, and it can tie in your physical, your heart, and mental. Just taking a moment to again reflect on how it is that you're feeling in that moment, and we always recommend if you feel like you need any additional support. Counseling is something that when you have someone who can help, take a step back and look at the tapestry of your story and help provide some perspective sometimes. So, and if anyone would like any additional resource about counseling or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to us. Okay, fourth domain we're going to be covering is self-care, the spiritual, our spirit. So this can look different for everybody. It might include prayer or meditation, like we spoke about on the previous slide. This is such a wonderful way of tapping into something that's beyond the physical. So we start with the physical and our physical body and being here and being present, feeling our feet on the earth. And now the spiritual can be a wonderful way to extend outside of ourselves and to connect to something that's of an essence larger than ourselves, that can provide a lot of peace and comfort. Or it may not either. And I want to make sure, if it's not something that feels good to you, that's okay too. Sometimes visualizing, practicing gratitude, spending time in nature. There's so many different ways that we can connect to something larger than ourselves. Being aware of the non-material aspects of your life. Again, kind of tying back in like to the gratitude journals, or to doing an act of kindness, to going outside and when it first snows, and things like that, which will probably be soon. Identifying what's meaningful to you in your work and your life. Something I really like to do is to look at a list of values, and sometimes just taking a moment to look at those list of values and choosing 5 or 6, and looking at those and reflecting on those and seeing how, if it's something that you don't currently have in your life that you'd like to start incorporating again, or if there are things that are in your life and different ways you can expand on those. But sometimes looking at a list of values can really put into perspective what's meaningful to you and how you want to orient your perspective in your life. So that can be a really powerful and helpful tool. Practice mindfulness and being present in the moment. That is something that I want to acknowledge. It can be really uncomfortable sometimes. And if it is something that you struggle with in the past, sometimes it can be really helpful, again, to tie in nature, sometimes just going out in nature and putting our hand on a tree, or noticing the color of the leaves changing and just taking a deep breath. And that can be your mindfulness for that day, for that week. But that is something, there's small ways that if you just take a single breath and focus on your breath, that can be a mindfulness practice. And that allows, again, a connection between your mind, your spirit, and your body to kind of just all become aligned in that moment. And that can provide a really, really comforting and safe space within yourself. So we have here some journaling exercises about self-care. So these are ways that you can, some prompts that you can use to kind of reflect on what we kind of just talked about, the self-care, and different ways you can use these prompts as a way to explore ways that you have been doing self-care, or maybe some ways that you want to incorporate self-care into your routine, especially around the holidays. How do you nourish your mind, body, heart, and spirit? Going back to journaling, I'm a huge fan of list journaling. So you could, write those out and make lists of ways that you are doing that in your life, or maybe some different ideas about how you want to start nourishing your mind. And you can start with one. That is absolutely one profoundly mindful and intentional moment is absolutely perfect. How do you actively reduce and manage stress in both your personal and professional life? Sometimes we have coping mechanisms that we don't even realize that we're doing, and we're doing really well. And so sometimes if we take a moment to really reflect on what it is that's working in our life, when we can see that, something can be really helpful to apply that elsewhere. How do you feel when you are honoring your self-care needs? How do you recognize when you're neglecting your self-care needs? That can be a difficult one. And I really like this question because it kind of prompts us to think about those moments when it may have been a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we haven't participated or intentionally done self-care. And so I think this can be a really important and powerful one to reflect on and think about ways that maybe we feel if we haven't incorporated self-care. What's calling to you for more attention? What self-care are you feeling proud of? Again, so very often we are doing these amazing coping mechanisms and these amazing self-care that we don't even realize we're doing. And so I think it can be really powerful and important to look at the ways that we are doing these things. And calling attention to that can really help build our confidence and that self-love. What is one self-care action you would like to commit to doing today, this week, or this month? And making those goals can be very helpful. And if it's just for today, start there. And if you want to write it down every day to make sure you do it that day, that's a beautiful place to start. And now I will hand it over to my colleague, Becca. Thank you so much.